What if we told you we figured out God's will for your life?
Welcome back, everybody. This is Burnt on Religion, the podcast for those who have been burnt, who are currently burning, and those who are trying to avoid being burnt. I am Ashton, and I feel like I'm underwater, and these are the two beautiful creatures under the sea.
Just lost me.
Rusty. The octopus.
Are you all right?
Josh, the angry little crab.
Okay. Well, wow, that was a rough...
I don't know. That was terrible. I'm so sorry.
Welcome to the bloopers reel.
Oh, man.
That was incredible. That was one of the best introductions we've ever had.
I teared up a little bit.
Right.
Oh, man.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever been described using that terminology.
Get used to it.
Brace yourself. Hey, by the way, we want to welcome everybody back for, well, one thing, but the other thing is we have a huge announcement to make. Josh Gregson over here has changed his appearance.
Look at this.
Yeah,
stud.
look at that. He looks a lot like Rusty. So the last 4 episodes, we did not know what we were doing, and we just want to go ahead and make that clear. We had no clue. 4 episodes ago, we brought Rusty in as a guest on Burnt on Religion to tell his story, the Baptist-Costal thing, and we ended up with 2 episodes out of that where we had a guest appearance, and that was Rusty. After that, things happened where we needed him to fill in for Josh Gregson because life just kept coming at Josh. So we had to get him to fill in. So we had him as a guest. We had him as a stunt double. And here's the big news. We just found out recently that Josh Gregson thought it would be best for the podcast for him to step down, not because of hard feelings, not because of, he loves what he does, and he was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
But he realized that life is coming at him. This chapter in life is just more than he could bear. Let's just go ahead and go with that. A reference to last week.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, wasn't that clever?
Yeah.
So he said that he thought it would be best because of all the needs that he has in his life to just go ahead and step down. And then we slowly turned over to Rusty, who has not gotten away yet. And we're like, so, sir.
I just didn't move fast enough.
You did not.
I did not.
Yeah.
Go away quick enough.
So we had a conversation. We had our people talk with his people. We had HR, have a meeting with him. IT, HR.
Yeah.
Yes, HR here.
Contracts were signed.
Contracts were signed, and we agreed on a payment plan, which is, by the way, the same as it has been.
An
from the
intern,
beginning.
yes.
Right. Yeah. And Rusty is now a permanent fixture on the Burnt on Religion podcast, and it is good to have you with us, Rusty.
It is good to be here.
Get ready for the abuse. Get ready for all that comes with this.
Ready for the beating. Let's have it.
That's right. Yeah. And what this whole podcast is about is putting the Bible back into context. That's what we want to do because it's been taken out of context so much and it's been weaponized on these different topics. So here we are, first official episode with Rusty as a face on Burnt on Religion.
Look at that face.
Look at that face. Yeah, look at that face. So, what we started out by saying that we know God's will for your life, and by the way, we have figured it out. You might say, "Well, I don't even know you guys. How did you figure so much out about me?" Well, Bible.
What?
We read the book.
Yeah, we have your book. We've read your book. So the idea is God's will, and I don't know about you guys, but this was a battle for my whole existence was trying to figure out God's will for my life.
Sure.
And I think most people are still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, it's one of those things you never really truly. For myself, I don't know about anybody out there, but while kind of reviewing this topic, I got to walk down memory lane for a while, and I mean, I've touched base on some stuff in my life, but just thinking back, I was like, man, I felt like I floated around in life, in the world, not really knowing what I want to do or what path I want to take. And, a lot of people would tell me, well, just pray on it. God will touch your heart. God will let you know. It really wasn't until pretty recently in my life that I've kind of figured out what I've tried to plan out for myself. But at the same time, it's amazing what does happen.
Right.
And what doors do open up. And especially when you do have God in your life. But thinking back, like, man, I lost so much time. I lost so much money. So many things I could have done better, handled better. But it is one of those topics I feel like people do, and I'm sure they have the best intentions when they say, like, God's will. God will guide you. God will be there, and that's awesome. But at the same time, you as an individual trying to figure out life is, man, it's a battlefield.
Trying to figure out what's God's will for my life. Yeah. And growing up, I really wanted to do that because I really wanted to be in the center of God's will. That's what I wanted. I was saved, and my desire was to please God. I wanted to be in the center of His will, but there's so many. Life has so many different topics.
Yeah.
Who do I marry? Where do I go to college? What career do I pick? What state do I live in? Do I live in a state, or should I be in foreign missions? Like, what do you do?
Well, I'll touch this, and I'll let Rusty have a whack at it. Hit the pinata.
That's right.
Even I'll use college as an example. Even graduating high school, it was a couple years before I decided to go. But even going, I took up space. Like, it wasn't
right.
I wasn't in a big rush to get through, but I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and I got involved with the music side and trying to do different avenues down through there. But even then, I just trying to plan past that. Like, what do you do? Like you said, where do you go?
Right.
What's the next thing? And that I've known a lot of people that kind of struggled with that mentally.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with your life? What are you going to do? Or future and all that. And
it's stressful.
It is very, very stressful. So
yeah.
I know. Like myself, for instance. I really, truly don't feel that I was saved until almost 30 years old.
Sure.
Of course, that's after a divorce, after all that, and you're looking back on that thinking, okay, well, this didn't work out, so obviously this wasn't in God's will,
or it would have worked out.
Or it would have worked out.
Right.
Yeah.
To the way in my mind, I seen that it needed to work out.
Right.
So, coming to know God and developing a relationship with Him and wanting to please Him. Okay, well, you're seeking counsel out from people, and I'm going, hey, how do I figure out what God's will is for my life? Well, pray on it, of course.
Sure. Yes.
I even got the whole fast thing. You fast. Pray.
You got the entire protocol.
Yeah.
Right. Good.
Right down the line.
Right.
And. Well, the funny thing about it is, we'll take everything to the Lord in prayer. Well, which, you're
Sure.
But I noticed, well, Lord, which way do you want me to go? Lord, what direction do I need? Lord, how do you want me to serve you? Lord, look at that. As a father, what am I supposed to do? And I'm going down through here, and I get that answer of, well, wait on the Lord. Wait on the Lord.
Right.
Wait on the Lord. I noticed the longer I waited, the less was getting done. It almost had locked me up because I'm waiting to hear what I'm supposed to do.
Right. The irony behind that is, I think sometimes the Lord's waiting on us. So as we're waiting on Him, He's waiting on us, and nothing's happening.
We got a stalemate here,
Somebody's got to move.
Right. God's like, get up and do something. And like, I'm waiting on you. I'm way ahead of you.
You put some legs to it, okay?
Right, do something. So the ultimate question is, how do I find God's will for my life? And I've had this battle as far as who do I marry? There's 7 to 8 billion people out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fish in the sea.
Absolutely.
What are you going to do? Who do you pick? Because there's that soulmate, air quotes, you know, that soulmate person out there.
There.
So out of all those people, God's got that specific one for you, and you're praying for the. And by the way, that's not true. There's many options out there. So if you're still wondering who should you marry, by the way, there's so many people you could marry. But of course, what you're trying to do is find that specific one, that lifelong partner, and all that. So as I was trying to figure out who to marry, I'm praying, you know, God, send me a sign because I'm really not good at this myself. You know, I mean, even my wife, I proposed to her. I knew her for 10 days and we were engaged. By the way, highly don't recommend that to any of the young listeners out there. It would work, but we've been married for almost 29 years now. So it's life is great. Love it.
Sounds like it did work.
Yeah, it did work for us. So, but 10 days after I met her, I was engaged. Basically, I told her I'm really bad at dating. You want to just get married? Because I'm really bad. I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow.
So, and she said yes. You know, so 29 years later, we've been on a lot of dates. You know, since we were married. I was just doing it backwards. But I was trying to figure out what's God's will for my life. What do I do? Because I don't want to mess this up. And for some reason, I feel like I can mess this up. I can mess up my life because I didn't seek God's will. And sometimes you're seeking God's will, and guess what? Life gets messed up. Mm-hmm. So that responsibility is huge on your shoulders.
Well, yeah, then it turns into a point of, oh, wow, I'm shaming myself.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes, hey, I'm not in God's will and this has fell apart.
Right.
And this is the reason why it's fell apart.
Yeah.
It's because I'm not in God's will.
Because it's me. It's obviously me. And sometimes you don't know what sin you committed, what did I do wrong? Did you guys grow up with the whole in the Baptist, you'd get this a little bit more, maybe you've seen it. I don't know about Church of Christ, but they like to use a lot of visuals. If you talk about eschatology, the end of the world, there's a chart.
Sure.
There's a whole chart of a timeline chart that goes up in the front of the auditorium. Well, on this one, God's will, there was a target. They used a target for us. The center, the dot in the middle, that's God's perfect will. And then the ring right outside of that was God's permissive will.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah, did you see that, Rusty? Yeah. So you got God's perfect will, dead center. Got it. And then there's His permissive will. I don't really like it, but I'll allow it. That was the permissive will was right outside that. Then the rings get, the farther you get, then it was just the whole sin. Sin is missing the mark, and this is how far you miss the mark by is the sin. So that the target illustration was used a lot for me.
Sure.
Growing up, I got to see that a lot. And I'm always shooting for that bullseye because you want to be in you want to be in the center of God's will. And that's even the terminology, the center of God, not just roaming somewhere in God's will. You want to be in
dead center.
You want to be dead center. We want to measure to the outside of that ring and make sure you're in dead center.
What happens when that round ends up landing in the dirt to the right or the left?
Right.
Okay, I'm way out of
right.
I'm way out of whack.
What if I'm just bad at shooting?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be in God's will. Right. So that was the illustration. And I'm always shooting for the target in the middle. But the thing is, I don't even know the ammunition. Am I using arrows? Am I using darts? I don't know what I'm doing in life. I'm just trying to navigate to get to that center dot. And nobody's giving me instructions of how to do it. Just, hey, pray. Seek God, wait on the Lord, all those things. And as I'm sitting there accomplishing nothing, I'm like, God, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to need some help here because
and more questions are stacking up as you go.
Right. Not only are you trying to find God's will, you don't know which direction the target is. I don't even know which direction to shoot because the truth is I don't know what God's will is yet. So which way do I go?
Yeah, what is the target?
Yeah, what is the target? Because not a physical one.
Yeah.
So college, careers, who do I marry? You're trying to find the center of God's will. Everybody, and most people are, and that's a struggle, and there's so much stress. And then when life goes bad, you figure you must be out of God's will, otherwise life wouldn't have gone bad.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah, what did I do wrong? Well, just recently, for me, new tire blew out. The sidewall of my tire blew out. I hit a hole, and apparently that was too much pressure for the tire, and it blew the sidewall out of my tire. I had to buy 2 tires, and the one was the new one. The new one blew out. They couldn't fix it.
The old one.
Right. So I'm sitting there on the side of the road, can't even get the lug nuts off because the caps on the lug nuts had swollen, so the lug wrench wouldn't fit on them. I couldn't even get it off. So I'm thinking at that time, if I was still in my traditional mentality, the out of context mentality, I could have been sitting on the side of the road going, God, I know it's me. I know I'm out of your will. I know I've done something wrong and I'm being punished because that's what's happening to me. That's an unhealthy mindset. And so many people live that way, trying to figure out, where should I be?
Been guilty of that myself. I mean, things, like I said, just life happened. Rolling through, and things just fell apart and continue to fall apart. And it's like, oh, Lord, what am I doing? What am I not seeing? What am I being punished for?
Right.
What have I done, or what have I not done that is, this is a direct result of
What did I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a rough life. It's a rough existence.
Yeah, it is rough.
Yeah, so what about those times where you're seeking God's will? And I've had this happen so many times. I'm seeking God's will. I know I'm living my life right because I can't think of a sin that, I haven't been involved in any sin lately or anything like that. And I'm just kind of, I think I'm in a good place. I'm like, God, tell me what your will is. And then I hear that deafening silence. I need an audible here, God.
Exactly.
I'm going to need some help, and I'm getting nothing. What do you do when you can't hear him? What's that do to your life? When you're seeking God's will, you think you're doing pretty good, and you still get nothing. Crickets.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but you to me, you almost feel like you're abandoned.
Okay.
Like you can't if you're not getting a response, or especially if you're not getting a response that you think you need to be hearing or seeing, then it's like, okay, so what do I do now if the one person, per se, the one I'm supposed to go to isn't talking,
Right.
isn't reacting, and now you feel like, oh, well, I must have done something extremely horrible because now I'm getting a silent treatment. So what do you?
When God gives you the silent treatment, it's bad.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I am really detached at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that is a personal. Again, that self-shaming happens there. But people have asked me so many times, how do I know what his voice sounds like? How do you know that you're hearing from God? Because let's just be real. When you're young and you find that other person that you want to marry, you didn't go to the bottom of the barrel and say, I wonder if they're down there. You're not seeking, you're not going down there to find that girl or that guy. That's just not what you're going for. You found that one that's attractive to you. Their personality seems perfect. You have a good time with them. You enjoy your conversation with them. And then you're like, okay, God, please tell me that's the one, because I'm very attracted to this person. That's the one I want. So then the question is, how do I know if it's God telling me or if it's me telling me? Because I'm hearing a loud affirmation here. Yes, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one. Who's talking to me? Is it my desires or is it his desires? So what do you do in those moments? So I've been asked, what's his voice sound like? Because how do I know if I'm hearing that or if I'm just hearing my own? Well, you know what your voice sounds like. So if it doesn't sound like that, maybe it's somebody else.
more like a James Earl Jones.
James, is that what he sounds like?
Yeah.
Because I've never heard an audible to this day.
Oh,
Yeah. Is it like Morgan Freeman? Because I know he plays God too. So
yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
and maybe it is.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if anybody's heard him, let us know. But you can hear God, because God's, his spirit bears witness with our spirit that we're children of God. You know that he does speak to you. But people are like, I don't know what I'm listening for. You're not listening with your ears. That's not how that works. But people are trying to feel, what's God's will for my life? What do I do? What do I do? And there's so many listeners, even right now, that are probably saying, okay, at the beginning you said you knew God's will for my life, and I'm still trying to figure that out. So, what are we, 20 minutes into the episode, and you haven't told me yet? So I feel like maybe we should tell you what God's will for your life is.
You can hang out on that cliffhanger for a little bit.
Yeah, just keep listening. We want to hook you in, but at the same time, we don't want to waste your time. So we can give you a couple things that the Bible is clear about, that this is God's will for your life. And I think everybody would agree because it's in Scripture. But we can narrow it down to even more specific. You're looking for that perfect girl. You're looking for that perfect guy. You're looking for that job that God wants you in. That career or whatever, what college to go to, what car to buy. With that whole idea, that you're looking for God's will, isn't that basically a life trying to figure out what He wants you to choose? Chocolate or vanilla?
Essentially.
This car, that car. What you're not operating your own life. You're waiting for God to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's a miserable way to live. I've lived that way for so long.
Absolutely.
I need to figure it out. So let's bring up God's will here. What is God's will? We know God's will. Here's one verse, 1 Timothy 2:3 says, "For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth." I think we can all lock that in and say that would probably be God's will. He wants everybody to be saved, nobody to perish.
Exactly.
Well, we can say that, and you're probably thinking, that doesn't tell me which girl or which guy. I got saved, so am I in God's will now? Is that enough?
Sure.
Or should I tell her no? And here's another fun one. Let's just throw this out there before we get any deeper here. The peace of God. Have you ever had people use this? Let's say a girl does come up to you or a guy does come up to you and say, "Hey, I'm interested in you," and you're not interested in them. Maybe they are the bottom of the barrel situation, but they like you. Of course, they're not looking at the bottom of the barrel. They're not looking there for that person, and they think you are floating on the top. And they come up to you and say, "Hey, I'm interested in you." And so many people say, "You know what? I'll pray about it. And if God gives me peace." Have you ever heard that?
Whoa, no. I've never heard that one.
You've never heard
I've heard
No.
it. I haven't used it, but I
Right. Yeah. Apparently, we are the bottom of the barrel because it's been used on us. If God gives me peace about it. So basically, if God shows me that it's His will, then I'll move forward. That's basically what you're saying. If God gives me peace.
Terrible.
Would you really experience peace if you're still posed with that question? Because
Of what God's will is?
the limit's still there,
Yeah, because there's not peace if you're still questioning.
If you're still questioning, there's no peace.
Right. So, but by the way, it's not only used on relationships, it's used on anything. Hey, you want to come over to our house for a party on Friday night? Well, I'll pray about it. If God gives me peace, that's just almost an automatic of, no, I don't. And I'm going to use God as my scapegoat.
I'm fluffing you off in this.
Right. If God gives me peace. I've heard that so many times, and then the older I get, I realize, okay, that would be a no. It's very religious no, but I think it's a no.
And then you start going, wow, I've been told no a lot.
Yes. Everybody's out there trying to figure out, like if I were to say, hey, here's $20, you want it? Nobody ever says, hold on, let me pray about it. If God gives me peace. Nobody prays about the $20. They're like, sure.
Sure we do.
You want to pray about it first? No. That's God's will first. That's definitely God's will.
He's providing for my needs according to His riches.
That's right. I have a verse to support that. But if they don't want to do something, it's amazing how much Christianese is out there. Like just if God gives me peace, I'll get back with you. If God gives me peace, then yes. Okay, so right now it's a no, and I have a feeling maybe God's not going to clear His schedule. Like, let's talk about Friday's party. I think it's just a no at that point. So I've had that used too, where it's almost like we play with this God's will thing and we just throw it around everywhere, and nobody knows what to do with the topic. It just exists. Yeah. You never had that, Ashton?
No. Well, not to that extent, but people have told me no, at least to my face. But
not. Let me pray about it.
Yeah.
If God gives me peace.
Yeah.
Nobody's used that
No.
on you?
No.
Consider yourself lucky.
Top of the barrel. All right.
I am so envious of you.
Yeah. Right. So many people are looking at what to do, trying to figure out God's will. Well, the one thing we do know is that He's not willing that any should perish, but that all come to repentance. We know that He wants people to be saved. He also wants us to bear much fruit. That is true, because the Bible says He wants you to bear much fruit. So when you find verses like that, and that, by the way, that's John 15:8. It says, "By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, so that you'll be my disciples." We can see, yes, God's will is that we bear fruit, and God's will, by the way, that doesn't mean produce fruit. It just means bear fruit. He's the one that produces. We're the one that bear the fruit, not produce the fruit. So quit trying to do it yourself. That's His job. He produces that.
Stop.
Another episode for another day, maybe. But pray without ceasing. I think all of us could probably say that's probably God's will. Which means have an open relationship with Him. It doesn't mean while you're driving, you're down on your knees and your hands folded with your eyes closed, That,
You can drive by Braille. It's fine.
that's highly not recommended.
No.
Yeah. If you're using Braille, please don't drive. Yeah, don't listen to Ashton. Life hacks, not here.
It was a suggestion.
Okay. Don't listen to Ashton's suggestions. He just introduced Rusty as an octopus. So,
That's true.
You do have a point.
Yeah. So we can look at the Bible and we can say, okay, there's certain things that tell me what God's will is. Salvation coming to the Gentiles. Remember the episode we did on predestination?
Oh, yeah.
That it was God's will that the gospel would not only stay with the Jewish nation, but it would be extended to the Gentiles. And by the way, if you haven't listened to the predestination thing, that's a tough topic for a lot of people. Check that out in your earlier episodes. So we can look at certain verses and we can say that's God's will. But when we say, yeah, but is it that girl or that girl, you're not going to find a verse.
Yeah.
Is it that guy or is it that guy? You're not going to find a verse. So what is God's will for your life? Because we said it. And if there's a teenager out there saying, please say Amber, please say Amber, well, we're not going to do that. We're not going to tell you it's her or the other girl, because we can't do that. So the question is it God's will or isn't it that I marry this one or that one? It's not. That's just it. Yeah, it's like you want to be in the center. Yeah, you want to be in the center of God's will. Well, why do you think that has to be a specific person? Why does that have to be a specific job? By the way, I'm just going to throw this out there. Job was in the center of God's will.
Yeah, and everything fell apart for that fella.
Yeah. Yeah, now his friends questioned, like, you must be what? You didn't hit the target, you didn't hit the ring around it. You're not even in the same room, Job. God must be really mad at you.
What did you do?
Exactly. Where were you shooting? So Job was in the center of God's will. It wasn't his permissive will. And by the way, there's no perfect permissive situation, so throw the chart away.
Just take air quotes.
Take it off the wall.
That's right. Use it for darts, whatever. But there's no permissive perfect. There is a perfect, and then there's this permissive category. I don't know why mankind invented that category, the permissive. Like, I'll let you do it. You're going to get hurt, but I'll let you learn, I guess. That's my permissive will. I don't know what that category is supposed to be about, but it's not in the Bible.
Explaining something they don't understand, probably.
There you go. There you go. That's probably where the chart came from.
Yeah.
Like, somebody asked the pastor, and he's supposed to have the answers, so he made a chart. Yeah.
See this?
Right. Right. So, for all the listeners, with no further ado, I think we should give them God's will for their life. I think we should tell you. And if you're thinking, okay, make sure you say this person's name. Well, you're already leaning that way. Go have a conversation with her. Have a good day. See if it works out.
Give you a little hint. It is not Amber.
Oh.
It is not Amber. But we are going to give you the name. We are going to give you the name. If you're looking for which person it is, what's God's will, which person it is, we're actually going to give you a person's name now. And that's where it gets a little creepy here. Like, how did they know the person's name? Well, we do. Here it is.
Dun, dun, dun.
God's will is Jesus.
What?
That's it. Like, wasn't even going to date him. No. It's God's will is Jesus. And that's the bottom line. That's the whole story. That's everything. God's will is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is God's will for your life. If you marry somebody that honors Jesus. And there's options out there for that. There's so many options. There's not one girl or one guy out there that's chasing after God, wanting to live for God. There's a lot of people out there. And, what are you going to do? Well, pick one. Go for somebody that's going to honor God. But remember, Jesus is God's will for your life. That's it. Which college? Well, it doesn't matter. Just go to a college. Pick one. Just pick one. So many people wasting their life doing nothing, praying, should I choose chocolate or vanilla? God, I'll just wait till you give me peace. Pick one.
It's too simple.
Why?
Pick one. Remember, God's going to go with you wherever you go. It's not like he's like, well, they went down the chocolate road, so I'm not going down that with them. He'll never leave you nor forsake you.
Emmanuel, God with us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jesus is God's will for your life. God's will was for that you found Jesus. Okay, now that you found him, what are you going to do? Do it with him. Do it with him. Why would you choose something where he would be uncomfortable doing it with you? What Jesus is God's will for your life. That's it. So you're thinking, well, I like this girl and that girl. Well, we can't have them both. And maybe neither one of them would work out. Get to know them and growing your relationship with them. And maybe you'll find out that wouldn't have worked out anyway, but keep your friendship intact. Why do we waste so much time and we kind of push it over to God? If something goes wrong, well, it's on him. Turns out it wasn't God's will, Amber. Like, what? Now it's not your fault. We just gave it to God. So
You were the weakest link.
that's right. So we do that. We also, I'll just talk to God, and if he gives me peace, well, if he doesn't give you peace, like, sorry, I really wanted to come to the party on Friday night, but God said no. Like, oh, well, it's not your fault then. What are we doing? It's God's fault. He said no. What are we doing? Why do we use this topic and we abuse it so much?
I guess that's an easy scapegoat.
Yeah.
Oh, sure is.
When you're stuck in that situation.
And who's going to question him?
Yeah, a lot of justification.
It's God,
Yeah. So that's the answer, guys. God's will for your life is Jesus Christ. That's it. Pick one. Whatever the case may be, and do it with Jesus.
There it is.
And by the way,
What?
if you're questioning, should I do drugs or alcohol today? Okay, you're like, which one's God's will? I think as you're going through this, you can weed out certain things. I feel like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like, which drug would God have me do today? God, I'm waiting for perfect peace.
Don't pick one.
Don't pick one. That's right. Don't pick one. Remember, Jesus is God's will for your life. So there's certain topics out there where you can say, yeah, that would definitely not be what Jesus would want to do today.
And going to the whole, what would Jesus do? Yeah, that probably doesn't.
That's probably not what Jesus would do. Right. And there's a lot of sins out there. Remember, it comes in a lot of varieties, and Satan has no problem throwing temptations out there. But remember, with every temptation, there's a way of escape. As we spoke on last week's episode, was he won't allow you to be tempted more than you can bear. Sometimes life can present more than you can bear, but God won't allow you to be tempted more than you can bear. So there's always a way of escape. So if you see a sin as an option of, I wonder if that's God's will, that's an escape route sitting right there. Jesus, think about that. Is this God's will? Well, what is God's will? Jesus Christ. And the answer is a clear no. He doesn't want you to go into the sin. So that doesn't clear up anything, whether it's Amber or Rachel or whatever her name is. I can't help you there.
Rachel, man.
Well, the other side of the coin, Jeff, or whoever,
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it could be Jeff. We don't know, guys. It could be Jeff.
Could be Bobby.
It could be. Well, now you've complicated things. I didn't know Bobby was an option. So, man. So now you got to talk to Jeff and Bobby and get to know them. Find out what are their plans for life? What are their desires? Are they seeking the Lord? If one person says, yeah, I just don't know about church. I grew up in church and I just don't want to stay in church. Well, there's a red flag for you. Maybe maybe Jesus isn't their focus. And then you just got to remember what's yours. If it should be Jesus. I've told my kids this. I've told youth groups. I used to be a youth pastor for almost 20 years. I've told teenagers this all the time. If you're looking for a girl or a guy, a godly girl or a godly guy, you're going to have to go to God to find them, because that's where they'll be. That's just it. Your focus is God, not who you're going to pick, but who they've already picked. That's the idea.
Who they're already walking with.
That's right. So it comes down to what's God's will for your life. It could be anybody. It's just, where's their heart? Jesus is God's will for your life. And sometimes you do get the bottom of the barrel and find out that's paradise. Because it's not the external, it's the... No, look at us, we're giving dating advice on the podcast now.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, in my youth especially, it'd have been nice to have that device.
Yes.
Excuse me, that advice.
Yeah. Because I remember wondering who she was. I prayed for my wife when I was like 15 years old. I would pray for her every day. I don't know who she is, God, but help her have a good day today, and I hope she's seeking after you, and I would do that. But I had no face. There was no face to the name. There was no name. It was just it's your will out there. It's right in the center of that target, and I'm trying to find her.
Wherever she is, let this go her way.
Right. So it's just a confusing way to live, is trying to find the center of God's will in everything that you do. Like God is micromanaging all your choices on earth, and He's not. He gives you free will to live. You get to live. The world's your oyster. Just go ahead and pick one, whatever you're going to do, but do it all to the glory of God.
Absolutely.
It's. We told you at the beginning, we know God's will for your life, and turns out we know God's will for your life. It's just we don't know what you're going to do with it. We don't know how that looks for you. We don't know. You buy this house or that house. By the way, they're all going to crumble. They're all going to fall apart. It doesn't matter if they build your house today. Just wait 10 years. You're going to be fixing stuff on it. It's just that's just life. And in life, He's going to go with you. Just remember, Jesus is God's will for your life. When we accepted Christ and let His life live through our life, that is the center of God's will. Are you going to have good days all the time? No. You're going to have bad days? Absolutely. It's going to happen. But we allowing Christ to express Himself through our life is the center of God's will. That's just what it is. That teaching of the permissive and perfect will of God, that teaching right there, it creates a constant fear of whether I'm in God's will or I'm out of God's will on a daily basis. It's just, you live freaked out.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know which way to go. So you do nothing. You sit there, you're locked up.
Right. Yeah. So many Christians sitting there doing nothing, just waiting for Jesus to come back. We're in a spiritual waiting room, waiting for Him to say next. Yeah, that's it. That's all we're doing with our life, because we don't know what His will is. We're not enjoying chocolate or vanilla. We're not doing anything because we don't want to be out of God's will. I don't think doing nothing is the center of God's will.
I'd have to agree with that.
He wants to do something with you.
Yeah, there was a point to salvation. There's a point to all of it. He made you for a purpose.
Yeah. So somehow our actions have become the determining factor of whether we're with God or not. I bought this house and it's falling apart. Must not have been God's will. A tornado struck my house and nobody else's. Clearly must not have been God's will.
What did you do?
Right.
That's a reoccurring thing. What did you do?
Yeah, what did you do? But somehow that what did you do theme puts it all on us of whether we're close to God or not. By the way, if you're saved, you can't get any closer with God, because Jesus said, I will become one with them. That's pretty close.
Yeah.
That's pretty close. You're not going to get closer. You can grow stronger in your relationship with God, but you're not going to grow closer in your relationship with God, because you can't be any closer.
No.
No, you're close.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this out there. In ways, like I said, I was that person that just kind of floated around and didn't know what all to do, which direction to go, and stuff like that. It is crazy, and if those who have never experienced or accepted Jesus into your life, your life does change.
Yes.
And I've noticed, even in myself, even thinking of, I know we've talked about this a couple times too, on and off the podcast, like your mentality changes. The way you act does change.
Sure.
Whether you realize it or not, because you have that internal, I don't know how to even describe it, but like certain things turn you off. Like you do feel guilty if you do something
It's
wrong.
your new nature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you feel like I feel like I have a more desire to be useful, to help those,
Right.
to influence people. I mean, even the way you act impacts somebody.
Sure.
Somebody does take notice of that. And compared to how I used to be terrified to, even public speaking was like, no, you just didn't do it. Like you just didn't. It was like, no.
Terrifying.
Trying to stir up a conversation with somebody. You notice somebody having a bad day.
Right.
It's like, oh, they're having a bad day, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Now it's, what could I say? Even just checking in on somebody has a huge impact on them.
Yes.
So those who, I say, on the fence of wanting to accept Christ. I mean, it's having that moment, going through those thoughts too, is terrifying because you thought like, what is God going to do with me?
Right.
How am I going to be a tool for Christ? It's crazy how much of a ripple effect it has.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
it's absolutely true.
throwing that out there. So.
No, yeah, I mean, it seems like you come to a point where your focus becomes connecting people to Christ. you
Right.
know? Not just, hey, what am I doing with it? Or your focus doesn't just become your relationship with Him. Your focus starts to broaden out and pull other people to Christ.
Yes. And it's amazing. Even this, Satan is subtle. Even with this topic of trying to find God's will for your life, somehow it becomes a works-based righteousness again.
Absolutely.
It just like, am I good with God or am I not good with God? And it's based on my decisions. It's a works-based. You've gone from grace back to works-based, and it's a subtle little thing because your intentions are to be in the center of God's will. So you're not really being an instrument for God where you're reaching other people. You're just living in fear, trying to make sure you're still in good standing with God, and you're right back into captivity, trying to find God's will for your life.
And like you said, it's just a subtle little move.
It's barely anything.
Yeah.
So our righteousness is a gift. It was a gift. You have it. If you are a child of God, you are righteous. And we've spoken about that in past episodes too. You are righteous. I want to drop out this verse before we run out of time here. It's 2 Corinthians 3:17. It says, now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Religion brings bondage. Do more, be more. That's it. You need to do more to be in God's will. You need to be more to be in God's will. You need to step up here. You need to step back there. You need to do more. You need to be more. Religion brings bondage. And we're not speaking against, religious people but on that other, there you go, Ashton, air quotes. Religious people, because we're not, even that term religion, burnt on religion, it has a negative connotation in this podcast because it's burnt on religion. But we're not talking about Baptists and Pentecostals and Catholics, and we're not talking about that. We're talking about religion itself. It binds you. Do more, be more. But relationship, it says, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Pick one. You have the liberty. You go ahead. Go ahead, go to that college. No, okay, then go to that college. Just pick one. And when you do it, understand that Christ is doing it with you. Everywhere you go, there will be people. And everywhere there's people, there is a need. And God loves those people. So you can't choose wrong on that one. You might choose something that turned out to be unfortunate. Well, if you were able to look at the other scenario, you might find out that that turned unfortunate too, because that's just called life. Just because something bad happens to you doesn't mean you're out of God's will. Just remember Jesus Christ is God's will, and go ahead and live it.
Moana. That's it.
Moana.
Pick one. The crab.
Pick one.
Now I've completed the circle of today, intro to ending. Sea creatures.
Look at you and your genius. I still have no idea what you're talking about. So, like,
And that's why he makes the big bucks.
Well, are we making dollars? Are we making money now?
He's getting closer.
Okay, all right.
We're almost there.
We'll talk to human resources about
Yeah.
that. So,
Put you in for a raise.
just remember that relationship brings freedom. It is finished. It is finished. You can't be more righteous. You're not going to, don't worry about where you stand with God or anything like that. If you are a child of God, you're in good standing with God. Now go ahead and live in your freedom. Go ahead and express Christ in everything that you do. Choose wisely in everything you choose. Go ahead and choose wisely. Use common sense and use the knowledge that whatever you're doing with Jesus Christ. So don't do something don't choose poorly on that topic. Just remember, God's will is Jesus Christ for your life. So if you were looking for a name, you're welcome.
Choose Jesus.
Yeah, that's it. Choose Jesus. In everything you do, go ahead and choose Jesus. And while you're praying about that guy or that girl or that job or whatever, include Jesus Christ in your decision. That's all we're saying. And enjoy life and walk in that freedom that Christ gave you. And just be glad you're not in God's permissive will. You're in the center of God's will if you have Jesus Christ in your life, and go ahead and express his life through yours. That's it. That was a pretty simple topic right there.
Nailed it.
Just clear it. Hopefully that clears up so many things for so many listeners. By the way, if you have a topic, interest, or anything, just drop it on our email, burntonreligion@gmail.com. We will take those. We are listening. So many countries, so many states. It's getting out there, and that's because of you. So thank you for getting the word out for us. By the way, we are missing some states. And by the way, just throw this out there. Alabama, what are you doing down there? There are so many listeners in Alabama. You have taken over Missouri, where we're located. We have more listeners in Alabama than we do Missouri.
Go
Missouri,
Alabama.
it's time to fight. The South is
Nice.
rising again. So, so Alabama, thank you. Thank you for getting the word out there, and all the other states. Just share. We really do want to get the context, the scripture back home to context, so help us out. And thank you for all you're doing. So that's it for today's episode, guys. So
Nice.
we'll get out of here, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.